Welcome back to AI Paper Podcasts. Today we're looking at Agent Banana, high-fidelity image editing with agentic thinking and tooling by Ruiji Ji Zhang and their colleagues.
Yeah, and this one's a heavy hitter. It's really trying to tackle that professional gap in generative editing. Why models like Flux or even GPT-4o sort of fall flat on high-stakes tasks like VFX or professional retouching.
Okay, so here's the 60-second download for everyone. Current foundation models, they really struggle with three main things. They destroy resolution by downsampling, they over-edit regions you didn't want touched, and they just lose context in these multi-turn conversations.
An Agent Banana solution is this hierarchical agentic framework. It splits the work. You've got a planner that figures out the intent, and then an executor that actually uses the tools.
Right, and the two big innovations here are first, context folding. It's a memory trick to handle long conversations without the context window overflowing. And second, image layer decomposition, or ILD.
Which is this whole decompose, edit, fuse pipeline. It lets you edit high-res crops locally so you don't mess with the 4K background at all.
To prove it works, they also built a new benchmark, HDD-Bench, and it shows state-of-the-art performance in stopping what they call prior-induced editing drift.
It's probably the most serious attempt I've seen to turn these generative toys into, actual production tools.
Okay, that's the snapshot. Now let's really get into this. Because if you're an ML engineer or a researcher working with diffusion models, you know exactly the pain points this paper is talking about. We have these amazing foundation models, Stable Diffusion, Flux,
Midjourney, all of them.
But trying to integrate them into a really precise professional workflow, it's a nightmare.
It really is. And the paper kicks off by defining this professional gap. We're not talking about, generating some cool cyberpunk city from a text prompt. We're talking about taking a 4K photograph of a product or a person and making one specific tiny change without wrecking the rest of the image.
And they pinpoint three specific limitations that cause current models to fail at this. The first one is resolution constraints.
Right. So most diffusion models, even the latest ones, have a kind of sweet spot for resolution, usually around 1024 by 1024. If you feed them a native 4K image, which is like 8 megapixels, they almost always have to downsample it just to process it.
And even with a VAE, a variational autoencoder, you're still losing information when you compress it into latent space.
Exactly. You get these compression artifacts, all the high-frequency details just get wiped out, the film grain, skin texture, a little weave in a fabric. Then when you upscale it back to 4K after the edit, it just looked plastic.
That AI sludge look.
Yeah, that's it. For a professional photographer, that's an immediate no.
Okay, so the second limitation is over-editing. They also call it the global resampling problem.
And this is it's inherent to how standard image-to-image works. You give the model a prompt, say, change the bottle to blue. The model doesn't just change the bottle. It takes the whole image, encodes it, and then regenerates a completely new image that fits the prompt.
So it's hallucinating a new table, a new wall, different lighting.
It tries to mimic the original, yeah, but all the pixel values change globally. The wood grain on the table might shift a little, the shadows move. If you're doing VFX compositing, you just broke continuity. You can't use that.
And then the third one, sequential amnesia. This is the multi-turn problem.
Right, because professional editing is almost never a one-and-done thing. It's a conversation. Remove the chair. Okay, now make the lighting warmer. Actually, you know what? Put the chair back, but make it red.
And current models are just awful at tracking the state through all those turns.
They accumulate errors. By the third edit, the model's probably forgotten the constraints in the first one, or the image quality has just degraded so much from being resampled over and over that it's useless.
So enter Agent Banana. The authors didn't just try to fine-tune a better diffusion model. They built what they call a compound AI system.
That is the key phrase. We're seeing this trend everywhere in research now. The best performance isn't from one giant monolithic model. It's coming from an architecture of specialized agents that work together. Agent Banana basically separates the brain from the hands.
Let's break down that architecture. You've got the planner and the executor. Let's start with the planner.
Okay, so the planner is your high-level reasoner. In their experiments, they used GPT-5 Mini, but you could plug in GPT-4o or Claude 3.5. Its main job is intent decomposition.
Because users almost never give precise programmatic instructions, they give vibe prompts.
Exactly. A user says, make this living room look spooky for Halloween. A standard model just throws pumpkins and shadows everywhere. The planner instead looks at the image, looks at the prompt, and it breaks down into these little atomic sub-goals.
So it might
say, goal 1, dim the global lighting. Goal 2, replace the flower vase with a skull. Goal 3, add cobwebs to the ceiling corners.
So it's turning a vague semantic request into a programmatic checklist.
And it monitors the state. It understands that step 3 can't happen until step 2 is done right. It's like the project manager, constantly checking if the current image actually meets the user's goal or if it needs to replan.
And then you have the executor. That's the agent that's actually, touching the pixels.
The executor is the tool user. It has an action space with a set of tools, like replace, remove, add, adjust. It gets a very specific command from the planner like remove the object at coordinates x, y, and it just picks the right tool and sets the parameters.
But it's not just a dumb script runner, right? The paper mentions a quality test, which seems like a huge deal.
No, it's massive. It's a self-reflection loop. When the executor makes an edit, it doesn't just show it to you. It first inspects its own work, probably using a VLM, a vision language model, to see if the edit actually worked.
So if it tries to add a cat and the cat looks like some kind of distorted blob, the executor knows.
It catches it. It critiques its own output. It might think, okay, the cat is there, but the blending is terrible, or the resolution is too low. Then it basically hits its own internal undo and retry buttons. Maybe it'll tweak the denoising strengths or dilate the mask until it passes its own quality check.
That feedback loop is what separates a tech demo from a real product. You're filtering out the bad results before the user even sees them.
But here's the engineering problem. If you have a planner and an executor talking back and forth, passing images and text around for, say, 20 turns.
Your context window just explodes. I mean, even with 128K context, images eat up tokens like crazy.
Exactly. And that brings us to the first big technical innovation in this paper, context folding.
I love this name. It sounds like something out of science fiction, but it's really a memory management technique. How does it work?
So they created this 3-level memory hierarchy: asset level, execution level, and planning level. The whole goal is just to be as token efficient as possible.
Okay, let's start with the asset level. That's for the images themselves.
Right. And instead of embedding the full visual tokens for every single intermediate image, which would be enormous, they store a very lightweight thing called an image context. It's just the file path, the URI, and a VLM-generated text description of the image.
Wait, hold on. So the planner isn't even looking at the actual pixels of version 3.jpg. It's just reading a text description of it.
For the most part, yeah. It turns the visual state into a semantic text-based state, a brown wooden table with a white cup on it. This lets the planner reason about the content of the image using NLP, which is just orders of magnitude cheaper than processing visual tokens.
That is incredibly clever. You're converting an image editing problem into a text-based logic problem.
Then you've got the execution level, the tool context. Think of this as the transient working memory. It's the messy scratch pad where the executor is, trying different parameters, failing, retrying.
And this is the part that gets folded.
Precisely. Once a step is done and it passes the quality check, all of that messy trial and error data, the failed attempts, the parameter logs, it all just gets thrown away. It's folded out of sight. The planner never has to see it.
Like a manager who just wants the final report, not all the draft emails.
Exactly. And finally, the planning level or action context, that just stores the clean, persistent history of what actually worked. This lets the system keep a clear train of thought over a really long session without all the noise building up.
So context folding solves the logic and memory problem, but that still leaves the resolution problem. How does Agent Banana actually handle a 4K image without downsampling?
And that's innovation number 2, Image Layer Decomposition, or ILD. This is really the visual engine of the whole paper.
It sounds like they're just abandoning the whole end-to-end generation idea.
They are. They're basically adopting a workflow that looks a lot like Photoshop with layers. The process is mask, crop, edit, and then fuse.
Okay, walk me through that pipeline.
All right, let's say you want to edit a tiny pastry on a huge table in a 4K photo. First, the system uses a dynamic object-aware mask, probably something like SAM, the segment anything model, to perfectly isolate just the pixels that make up that pastry.
Okay, so you have a binary mask.
Then, it does a lossless crop of that region. It just cuts the pastry out into a little square patch, maybe 512 by 512 pixels.
Which is the perfect native resolution for most diffusion models.
Exactly. And the generative edit happens only on that small patch. It regenerates the pastry. But, and this is the crucial part, the millions of pixels in the background, the table, the walls, they are completely frozen. The model doesn't even know they exist.
So that global resampling problem we talked about, it's physically impossible here.
Impossible. You can't hallucinate changes on the table if you're not even processing the table. So once the patch is edited, the system uses Gaussian blending to fuse it back into the original 4K image.
Like Gaussian blending, why not just paste it?
Well, if you just copy-paste it, you'll get these hard, ugly seams. The noise pattern or the lighting right at the edge of the patch might not perfectly match the background. Gaussian blending is like a feathering tool. It just smooths that transition so it integrates seamlessly.
This whole approach, it just sidesteps the resolution limit of the model itself. You could edit a gigapixel image this way, as long as the specific piece you're touching fits in the context.
It creates what they call native resolution editing. It's an engineering fix for a model limitation. Instead of training a bigger, better model, they just built a much smarter pipeline.
Okay, so they built this incredibly complex system. How did they actually prove it was better? The paper says existing benchmarks like Magic Brush weren't good enough.
Yeah, they really weren't. Most of those are single turn or low res. They just don't capture the difficulty of a real professional workflow. So the authors built their own HDD-Bench.
High definition, dialogue-based benchmark.
Right. It's 96 curated sessions. Each session has 3 terms of interaction. And these are dependent instructions. So step 3 only makes sense if step 2 worked.
Yeah.
And all the source images are native 4K.
What about the metrics? Because standard PSNR is, well, it's terrible for editing tasks.
Oh, it's the worst. If you ask a model to remove the tree and it does it perfectly, your PSNR score will be awful because the new image is mathematically very different from the original. A low score penalizes you for doing exactly what you were asked to do.
So how'd they get around that?
They came up with this thing called Otsu masked fidelity. It's a really clever use of classic computer vision. They use Otsu's method, which is an automatic thresholding algorithm, to create a difference mask between the original image and the edited one.
Which tells them exactly which pixels were changed.
Exactly. Then they invert that mask to isolate the background, all the pixels that were supposed to stay the same, and then they run their fidelity metrics, PSNR, SAUN, LPIP, only on that background region.
So they're literally measuring, did you mess up the stuff I told you not to touch?
That's it. And this kind of rigorous testing is what led them to discover this phenomenon they call PIED.
PIED, prior induced editing drift. This sounds fascinating. What is that?
It's this really subtle corruption that happens in baseline models over multiple turns. They found that with models like Flux.1, the parts of the image that weren't being edited would still drift over time.
Drift. How?
They drift towards the model's statistical priors. Basically, every time a diffusion model processes an image, it nudges the style a tiny bit closer to the average of his training data.
So if my photo has a really specific gritty film grain or some unique lighting that wasn't common in his training set,
The model sees that unique grain as like noise or an anomaly. So over 2 or 3 edits, it just smooths it out. It replaces the specific texture of reality with a generic, high-quality AI texture that it learned from its training data.
that is terrifying for an artist. The model is sort of gentrifying your image?
It is. It homogenizes the visual signal. The image loses its unique character, but because Agent Banana uses image layer decomposition, its PIED curves are totally flat. Zero drift.
Because the background pixels literally never enter the generator?
Precisely. And this is basically the proof that for professional level consistency, you just cannot trust an end-to-end generator with the whole image. You have to constrain it.
There's a figure in the paper, figure 5, that shows this so clearly. It's a sofa cushion in the background of an edit.
Yes, the prompt was about editing a table in the foreground. But in the baseline models, if you zoom way in on that sofa cushion in the background, the texture gets all blurry and weirdly distorted. It's subtle, but it looks like bad JPEG compression.
And in the Agent Banana version,
It's pixel perfect, identical to the original source.
and that's the difference between good enough for a social media post and good enough for a billboard.
It really is. It drives home the point that fidelity isn't just about how good the edited part looks. It's about how much you respect the integrity of the original data.
They also did an ablation study on the LLM they used. They swapped out the GPT-5 mini planner for a much smaller model, Qwen 38B.
And this was a really crucial finding for any engineers listening. When they put the smaller model in, the whole system just fell apart. Not because the image generation was worse, but because the reasoning failed.
The planner couldn't decompose the intent?
It couldn't parse the 2 parameters correctly. It messed up the logical dependencies. It proves that the agentic part of this, the cognitive reasoning, is just as big of a bottleneck as the visual generation. You can't cheap out on the brain if you want the hands to work properly.
I wanted to ask about the action space they defined. Replace, remove, add, and adjust. That last one, adjust. How does the system handle something like a local style transfer?
So the planner would specify the region, like the sky. The executor masks and crops the sky out. Then, for the adjust tool, it would probably use an instruction-based editing model, or maybe a control-net pipeline, on that specific crop to shift the color grading or the style, and then it would just fuse it back in.
Which means you could have a Van Gogh-style sky right next to a photorealistic landscape with a perfectly crisp edge between them.
Yes. And because the whole system is modular, you can just swap out the underlying models. If a better in-painting model comes out next week, you just plug it into the executor's toolbox. The Agent Banana framework itself doesn't have to change.
That modularity is so key. It makes the whole system future-proof.
It really points to a shift from training to engineering. We're not just training loss functions anymore. We're architecting entire workflows.
So if we zoom out to the big picture, this paper seems to be suggesting that we might be hitting a point of diminishing returns on just making bigger, raw text-to-image models. The next big frontier isn't necessarily better pixels, it's better control.
I think that's a perfect way to put it. The generative part is, largely a solved problem. The models can generate anything. The real problem now is state management. How do we control that generation over time and over space? Agent Banana is like a blueprint for that. It's applying software engineering principles, modularity, memory management, unit testing to the world of generative AI.
It's turning the AI from a sort of slot machine into a CAD tool.
And that's exactly what's needed for real industry adoption.
Yeah.
A VFX studio doesn't want a magic box that works 80% of the time. They need a tool that works 100% of the time, even if that means wrapping it in a complex agentic framework to enforce that reliability.
Before we wrap up, I have one last thought on that prior induced editing drift. If we don't adopt tools like this, and we keep relying on standard end-to-end models, are we running the risk of a visual homogenization of the internet?
That is a very real danger. I mean, if every image that gets edited is passed through a diffusion model that drags it towards the average of its training data, we lose the outliers. We lose the weird lighting, the unique textures, all the imperfections that make photography feel real. Everything starts to look like the statistical mean of the Elion dataset.
So in a way, Agent Banana isn't just an editing tool, it's also a preservation tool.
It preserves the original signal. It protects it against the statistical weight of the models prior.
That's a really powerful way to think about it. We will link the paper in the description for everyone. I highly, highly recommend checking out the HDD-Bench graphs, and especially those visual comparisons of the drift. It's really eye-opening to see just how much quality these current models are silently destroying.
And definitely read the section on the context folding implementation. If you're building any kind of RAG system or agents that need long context, there's a lot of inspiration in there.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Agent Banana.
Always a pleasure.
Until next time, keep analyzing.